Well, thank you very much. I will give a brief introduction just to kind of give a little bit of credibility to myself as to why it is that you want to pay attention to me. It was actually 20 years ago, the end of this month, that I taught my first live taught class for Certified Management Accounting. I'd been teaching CPA for a little while, but it was in October, I think 28th, that we taught CMA for the first time. And the first time I taught CMA, the first time I taught CPA, I was teaching these exams in Moscow, Russia. By way of background, I graduated in 1994 and went to Russia shortly thereafter, had a fairly brief career as an auditor. I decided fairly early that auditing wasn't exactly the career calling that I wanted to have the next 20 years of my life be committed to. And so I ended up getting into training. And in the year 2000 in Moscow, I started a company that at that time in that place was Hock Accountancy Training. And that has since become Hock International. I came back to the United States after spending 18 years in Russia. I came back in 2012, moved into Columbus, Ohio, which is where I am right now, and I've continued to sell materials, teach people for the CPA exam, the Certified Internal Auditor exam, Certified Management Accounting exam. And so this is with really a little, actually more than 20 years experience. I was involved in some European certifications prior to teaching CPA and CMA. But this is what I do, is work with candidates around the world, passing or preparing to, and then passing their professional certification exams. And so that's what I'm going to talk with you about tonight. A little Ohio connection. Prior to moving to Columbus, I was actually raised and I grew up in Oxford, Ohio. I went to Miami. And even though I'm fairly close, I have very little kind of connection with the University of Dayton. It is actually where I took the CPA exam. I took the CPA exam at O'Hara Arena, which I know doesn't exist anymore. But that was where I took the CPA exam. I came up a couple times there to watch Miami in the Sweet Six, or the NCAA basketball tournament, come up to the museum, the Air Force Museum. And actually, I think other than taking the CPA exam, I took a driving tour of your campus just a couple of weeks ago. I was down with my family. We were getting together with my brother and parents in Cincinnati. And my oldest son is a senior in high school, so going through this whole college thing. We're working on essays and applications and all of that right now. And so on our way back from Cincinnati, I said, why don't we just drive through UD? I know some people that children have gone there or have looked there and have really liked the campus. And so a few weeks ago, I was driving around your campus, beautiful campus. I don't know if that's where we'll end up going, but that just a few weeks ago, I had the pleasure of driving through your campus and seeing it really for the first time. But that's not our topic tonight. That's just easing into what it is that we want to do. And so what I'm going to talk about, as Nicole said, is about professional certifications, and not only CPA, obviously CPA is part of that, but try to give you some idea about some other certifications that you might not really know about, that might be useful to you, might be something that you want to consider as you go forward. But I'm also going to talk about why it is that you need a professional certification and what it is that a professional certification is going to do for you, not only right now when you're starting to look for a job, going into that job market if you're juniors, seniors, but also how that professional certification is going to be something that's going to help you throughout your career. It's something that isn't just a one-time benefit. It's something that's going to provide a lot of benefits to you, some financial, some job opportunities. But we'll talk about why it is that you need that professional certification and what it is that it's going to do for you. But I want to start, before we get into professional certifications, take a moment just to kind of set a larger picture here. I think sometimes when we're talking about a job, and I remember when you're looking for that first job, there's kind of this focus on making certain that you get the job that you want, getting the right job, getting the job that, I guess if we want to look at it in terms of the most money, okay, the job and the place you want. But it's important that we take a little bit larger view of this first job than just seeing it as that first job. One of the things that I do that I've always done is I read. I probably read more than most people. I read business books, I read historical books, I read nonfiction, fiction, a wide variety of things that I read. And I don't know, about a year or so ago, I read a book that, very interesting way of looking at things, and this was a book by Simon Sinek, and it's his book, The Infinite Game. He's written some other books, but I think this is the most recent one. And in The Infinite Game, he talks about how it is that we look at things, and he draws a distinction, and I'm clearly not doing justice to all of the nuances of what it is that he's talking about. But he draws a distinction between what is called a finite game and what is an infinite game. And the distinction is this: when we're talking about a finite game, if we use the word finite, it really means there's limits. And in a finite game, what that means is we know who's playing, we know who's participating in the game, we know what the rules of the game are, and we know when the game is over, and we know who won or who lost. And so that's a finite game. And the problem that we have, or the issue that we have, is that in so many areas of our lives, we have what would be called finite thinking, where we get task-oriented. This is what I want to do. I want to achieve this. I want to achieve this. I want to achieve something else. And because it's finite, and we know when we achieve it, the problem we have is that after we achieve that, we really have the question, what's next? Now, we always come up with something that's next, and you know, we could give the example as, I want to make $1 million. Well, once you get to $1 million, you have your next goal is probably going to be $2 million. But we end up making a lot of short-term, short-run decisions that we act on, we achieve, and then we have to look for something else. And it's kind of a very stop-and-start way of going through something. And so in this book, what he's talking about is for a company, instead of having a goal that is a certain amount of revenue in a quarter, a certain number of employees, a certain number of stores, whatever the case may be, kind of that finite measure that we get to the end of the quarter, we get to the end of the year, and we say, check, we did it, we didn't do it, we missed it by this much, we overachieved by however much. But instead of having those finite goals that don't really lead to a long-term process, businesses need to start thinking in kind of more of an infinite game, in this kind of infinite perspective where it's not a specific quantifiable, we want to have a revenue of this, we want to have a number of sales of that, but really kind of a principle or a value that we have as the goal. And I can tell you in my own business, I've kind of tried to work on this thinking, and it used to be that I would think of sales in terms of number of dollars or the number of students that purchased materials in a certain period of time. And then you can say it's good, it's bad, we achieved, we didn't achieve, whatever the case may be. But that makes it so every month, every quarter, whatever time frame I set for this, there's a new goal because that one's over. The time ended, that game ended, and that month, that quarter, that year ended, and so it's kind of restarting again. And so instead of having a focus of sales, books sold, students, whatever the case may be, I try to keep in mind a perspective of this goal, kind of this more infinite goal of I want to help as many candidates as possible pass their exams. And so I don't look at an individual person that I'm talking to as a number in terms of meeting this goal that I have for this month or this quarter. But this individual conversation, this individual discussion that I'm in is part of a much larger goal that I have of helping as many people as possible. And so I want you to start kind of keeping in the back of your mind, and I know we can't do this with everything. There are certain things that have to be a finite kind of time and a finite structure. But you need to start having in the back of your mind, there's something more than just this specific thing that I'm doing. And it should lead to something larger. Okay, if I'm going to accomplish this short-term goal, hopefully that's putting me in a position to make progress towards meeting this much larger goal that maybe I'm never able to meet. Because if my company doubles in size and I have twice as many students this year as last year, have I achieved my goal? Well, there's still more students out there that I'm able to help. And so even if you have growth, even if you have success, you're keeping to motivate yourself because there's that next stage, that next level, that next group of people that I'm able to help prepare and pass their exams. And so from your standpoint, what this is kind of bringing this back to you is that when you're looking for this first job, when you're interviewing, and I understand some of you are already in that process, hopefully some of you have already finished that process and have a job. It might be a little early for that, but as you're going through this process of interviewing and looking for that job and finding that first job, I want you to try to take some time out to make certain that you're looking at this job search as more than just just your job. More than just, I need to get the biggest signing bonus, I need to make certain it's in this city, I want the most money, I don't care if it's something I like or don't like. That's not the proper approach to have when you're looking for a job, because this first job is going to impact what the next job you have is going to be. Because this first job is going to determine what company you're working with, what skill sets you get exposed to, what opportunities you get exposed to, what other companies, other clients or customers or suppliers of this company that you get exposed to. And so this first job is more than just the first job. This first job is kind of that introduction to what's happening with your second job. And an example would be something like this. And we'll make it a geographic example. Let's pretend that your goal is to work in California. Okay, you just decided, I need to work in California. San Diego is where I want to work. I need to go to San Diego. Well, if your goal is to work in San Diego, you need to make certain that this first job you take, even if it's not in San Diego, might lead you to a job that's going to be in San Diego, which means you may take a job for a large company that has an office in San Diego, but you take that job in Dayton or Columbus or Cleveland. But you're recognizing, I ultimately want to go to San Diego, so I better have a job that at least exposes me to the opportunity of being able to go to San Diego. If you take a job with a company that has no operations in California at all, well, this job is not likely to put you into a situation to get that job in California or to move closer to that job in California. So after your first job, after a few years when you're tired of it, and you start working towards that goal of going to California, you have to start over again. Because this first job didn't provide you any connections, any steps, any progress towards getting that job in California. And so it's not just one job. This first job is going to have an impact on the next job you have through those opportunities, exposures that you get in that first job. And so you need to make certain that this job may not be in California, but is this job that you're looking at right now, that you're considering, that you want right now, is it something that's going to help you ultimately achieve that larger goal? I understand it may not be realistic to get your first job in San Diego. But if you can get that job that puts you a little closer to being able to get to San Diego, that's the type of job that you want. And it requires you to think about more than just this one job as an individual job. The reality of the matter is you're going to have lots of jobs in your life. Not just different positions within the same company, but statistically, you're going to work for a number of companies. Okay? In your work career, you're going to have all kinds of different employers, different jobs than you can even think of right now. And just think about your parents, think about your grandparents, how long they worked for one company. Okay? My grandfather worked 40 years for a company. My father was an accounting professor at Miami for well over 30 years. Okay, now, I've happened to have the same job for 20 years, but that's just kind of because I can't fire myself. My brother's had a number of jobs, okay, also in accounting, a number of jobs with different companies. And so you are going to have multiple jobs in your career, multiple employers in your career. And so what you need to do is be able to start that process of thinking ahead and trying to identify what it is that you want to be doing 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now. Now, I understand that you don't know exactly what you want to be doing 20 years from now, and I understand that we see these statistics that say, you know, whatever percentage of the jobs that graduates are going to have in 5 years don't exist right now. Okay, whatever those types. So we know that things are going to change, but even if you don't know specifically what job you want to have, you should start thinking about what you want to do in your life. What is the impact that you want to make on the world around you? What is the legacy that you want to leave behind? What are the areas that you have passion about? What are the things in life that you're passionate about, that you want to be doing, that you want to be connected to for as long as possible? And so what you're trying to do is have that larger goal, that longer goal out there, and make certain that you're moving towards it. Not every step is going to be a big step towards it, but make certain that you keep in mind what you're trying to do and you're moving towards that as you make these decisions that you have in your career. Now, I'm going to kind of make a more general statement here. Everybody has different things that they're passionate about. Somebody's passionate about outdoor activity. Somebody's passionate about poverty around the world. Somebody's passionate about the environment. Somebody's passionate about investment banking. And so everybody has a different thing that they're passionate about. But if we were to ask, what do we want to be doing 20 years from now? I think we would all say, well, in whatever area it is that we're in, whatever area it is that we're interested in and that we're passionate about, we want to be a leader. We want to be in the positions that are making decisions. We want to be the people that are deciding where the company's going to go, where the industry's going to go, what's the next step for our company, what's the next step for the industry. We want to be those people that are making decisions. Now, one of the ways that this is kind of said is we want to be in the room. Okay? We want to be in the room where it happens. We want to be in the room where the decisions are being made. We want to be the leaders. We want to be the ones that are doing the strategic planning and leading the company to where it is that we're going to be going. And so what you need to start asking yourself, I know this is, years in advance, but you need to start asking yourself, what is it that you're able to do so that you will be the one in the room, whatever room that is. So you will be the one that is going to be in that room in 20 years. What is it you can do now? Well, I said that that first job impacts the second job, and that second job is going to impact that third job. So what you're doing right now is the precursor. It's the foundation for what you need to be doing so that you are in that room 20 years in the future. And so you want to make certain that you get the job that's going to help you do that. Get the job that's going to start you on that right path to achieving those infinite goals that you have. Those stretching goals, those large goals, that principle, those values that you're driven by. And so what you need to figure out, and the good news is I'm going to tell you one of the ways to do it, is you need to identify how it is that you're going to be different from your classmates, the people that you are interviewing with. Employers come, they interview you. They're not interviewing only you. They're interviewing everybody else at your school. They're interviewing everybody else at every school in Dayton and Southwest Ohio. And a lot of you have good grades. A lot of you are in Beta Alpha Psi. A lot of you have wonderful extracurricular activities that you've been involved in for years, and you're the leaders on your campus in whatever organization it is. And so the question is, how is it that with all these people that are bright, that are smart, that are talented, that are motivated, how is it that you can separate yourself from everybody else? And so you become the person that recruiter remembers when they're driving home after they spend 8 hours interviewing, however many people it is they interview in a day. You need to make certain you are the one that they remember. Because if there's something unique, there's something that differentiates you from everybody else, you're the one that they're going to remember, and you're the one that they're going to offer that job to. And I'll give you an example. Way back 20-some years ago, well, more than that, I'm sorry, that was bad math. 35 years ago, 37 years ago, whatever it was, when I was trying to get an internship. Okay, I was trying to get an internship after my junior year, and the recruiters came, the big 6, whatever number it was at that time, all came to Miami. They interviewed everybody, and everybody has good grades. Everybody's in Beta Alpha Psi and all that. Well, they hired 2 people for interns that year. There were 2 people out of all of those people they hired. One of them was a guy that I knew named Mark. And what made Mark different, he had good grades, all of that, Mark was in the Ohio Junior Symphony as a violinist. So music had obviously been a huge part of his life. Very talented musician and an accounting major. And so I think part of the reason Mark got that job was when the recruiters were driving home at the end of the day, anybody that had spoken to Mark remembered, hey, here's a guy who's a violinist in an Ohio Youth Symphony. Okay, so he may have also been in the finance club and the accounting club, but there was something unique about him that set him apart. Now, the reason I think I got that was the second person. What made me different was when I went through the interview process, I was studying Russian. I told people I wanted to work in Russia. Yeah, this was 1993. There wasn't a lot of people saying that at that time. And so when they went home, they said, I remember that nice guy, Mark, he played the violin, and that Brian guy who wants to go work in Russia for some reason. But we were different. We were unique. We stood out in some way that made our interview, our resume, a little bit different from everybody else's. Now, it might be a little too late for you to become an Ohio Youth Symphony violinist, but there are still things that you're able to do to make yourself different from all of the other candidates who are interviewing for these jobs, not only from UD, but every other college in the area. You have a way to make yourself positive and different and unique. And the two words I'm going to give you for how it is that you can do this are very simple. It's professional certification. Now, I know when you hear professional certification in accounting, your mind probably goes to CPA. Okay, and that's drilled in, that's probably a focus of some classes even, and that's absolutely fine. CPA is absolutely a valuable, around the world professional certification. So it's not something that you need to plan to do in the future. Do it now. Go into your interview having passed some of the exams. But CPA is not the only professional certification. And professional certifications have tremendous value. Professional certifications are going to help you get a job. They're going to help you get promoted. They're going to help you get exposed to different elements of the company that you're working at earlier than other people would be. It's an opportunity for you to demonstrate your skills. You make more money if you're certified. And so when we look at all of the benefits that come from getting a professional certification, you should want to do it as soon as possible. Okay? You should want to start passing those exams so that as soon as you work the necessary work experience, you are able to get that certification, you're able to get that license, and able to start benefiting from all of the benefits that you're going to get by having that professional certification. Now, I want to talk very briefly here about both of those terms, professional and certification, because I think it's important that we understand what exactly it is that a professional certification is, so that we understand how it is that it's going to benefit you. So the first of the two words is professional. Now, the way I look at professional is based off of the word profession, and from the sense that a professional is part of a profession. Okay, if there's no profession, you can't be a professional because there's no profession for you to be part of. And so what this does, whether it's CPA, CMA, CIA, whatever certification it is that you are obtaining, it helps you recognize that you are not alone. You are not out there by yourself. You're not, in a sense, you're nothing special because there's other people too. In the world of accounting, in the world in general, I'm not sure how many new ideas there are anymore. There's variations on a theme, or you apply an idea to a different area or something like that. But it's probably not a terribly realistic goal. I'm going to come up with something nobody's ever thought of before. Okay, that's probably not going to happen. What you're doing in terms of accounting is you're taking the next step that other people before you have already taken, starting with Luca Pacioli 500 and some years ago. People have been building how these things are done. You go into finance. Derivatives didn't just get created as a derivative. Embedded derivatives didn't just get created. They got built up to. And so your role as an accountant, your role as a finance person, your role as an insurance agent, your role as a tax professional, it's connected to everybody else that has that same profession and has that same certification. If I meet somebody and I say, I'm a CMA, well, that's an identifier. The person I'm talking to is going to think initially about me the same way they think about other CMAs they've met. If they've had good experiences with the other CMAs they've met, then they're going to start with a positive feeling, a positive kind of thought process with me. Because I'm a CMA, those other people were CMAs, they had good experiences, and so they're going to expect that to continue. But similarly, if they've had previous experience with CMAs and it was a bad experience, the person was unethical, the person cheated them, the person didn't follow through, then that reflects on me as well. And so when we're talking about a professional certification, it's not us by ourselves. We are benefiting from all of those people who came before us who built the value of this professional certification that we're now able to benefit from. All those people before us that created the value for CPA or CMA or CIA. And now we're able to say, hey, I'm part of that group. I'm part of that profession. Okay? Everything that you know about the internal audit profession, that's me. I'm part of that now. Because that's the professional part of a professional certification. Now we also have then the second word, certification. And this is something that is more important the larger the geographic scope that we look at. And here's the example. Okay, I graduated from Miami with an accounting degree from Miami. And when I graduated from Miami, it was one of the best accounting programs in the country. I don't know what it is now, but it was one of the best accounting programs in the country. And so when I was trying to get a job in Cincinnati or Dayton or Cleveland or Chicago, and I said, I'm from Miami, hey, everybody knew what that meant. And they assumed that I had a good education. But soon after I graduated, I moved to Russia. And in Russia, trust me, nobody's heard of Miami University. And if somebody thought they'd heard of Miami University, they were thinking of Florida, not Ohio. And so my education, that wonderful, strong accounting education that I had at Miami, was almost worthless to me in Russia because nobody knew about Miami and nobody knew what my accounting education was like. Now, if you're trying to get a job in Dayton, you're good to go. People have heard of your university. But you leave Ohio, you go to San Diego, and you say, hey, I graduated from the University of Dayton. They don't know. For all they know, it's the best school east of the Mississippi for accounting. Or, for all they know, it's the worst school east of the Mississippi for accounting. It doesn't mean anything. Okay, now they can look and find out. But when you're talking about a university education, there's so many variables that go into the quality of that education. It's the quality of your professors, it's the quality of the students that you're in, it's the rigor of the curriculum that they teach you. But once you take a certification exam, people know what you know. And so if you go to somebody and you say, I'm a certified fraud examiner. Okay, it's very likely that that person has no idea what that means. But just with certified fraud examiner, you go into Google, you type in certified fraud examiner, and that person's going to see what it is. They're going to be able to get the syllabus, and they're going to be able to say, you know, I don't know what university this person went to, never heard of it. But I know they passed the CFE exam. I looked at the syllabus, it looks pretty rigorous, and it looks like they had to get 80%, 70%, whatever to pass the exam. So that certification part of professional certification is that confirmation of what you know. Whether your university was good or bad, whether your professors were good or bad, you passed this exam. It's a standardized exam. Everybody in the world who took this exam had to pass the same syllabus. So if you pass this exam, you know the same thing that somebody else who passed this exam in another city, another state, another country. And so that certification becomes, in a sense, a passport for you to travel with. It certifies what you know for other people in your current place of employment, people in a potential future place of employment, people you don't even know. But because you have that certification, you know, and they know what you know. And so that certification eliminates that question of, what about the university? Where did they study? Because you have that professional certification. So you're part of a larger group, and there's a very specific body of knowledge that you tested through that you know, and that's how you've ended up with that professional certification. Absolutely valuable. You will probably end up with one or more professional certifications in your career. So here's the question then. Which professional certification should you get? Now, I understand the one you hear the most about is CPA, and absolutely wonderful certification. But it may not be the best certification for you. And so whenever I'm talking to somebody who wants to get they want to study something, I want to make certain that they're studying the right certification for them. And the problem, there's one difficulty with determining what the right certification is. You need to ask your future self. Because the certification that you should pass now is the certification that's going to help yourself 10 years in the future. The certification that you should be studying for now is the one that you need 3 jobs from now. And going back to San Diego, if your goal is to go to San Diego and you know there's a certain industry that's big in San Diego that you think you might end up in, well then you need to make certain that you are moving in that direction. And so if that's a specific certification that you need to have so that when you have that opportunity to interview in that industry in San Diego, you can say, look, I don't have a lot of work experience in that industry, but I've passed this exam. I've been focused on it. This isn't something I just came up with because I want to go to San Diego. This is something serious to me that I am committed to, and I've been making conscious decisions throughout my career to put me in a position to succeed in this job at your company. Now, as I said, I understand you don't know what you want to be doing 10 years from now, 15 years now, from 20 years from now. But what we want to start doing is start thinking about what are those areas that you think you might be interested in. And what are the certifications that are going to help you get in that direction? Now, I understand also that at this point in your academic career, you don't know whether or not fraud examining, being a forensic accountant, is what you want to do. And so a lot of these specialty certifications may not be something that you are really need to get into or aware of or interested in right now. But getting back to this idea of not just focusing on this one job as the next job, but recognizing that this job that you have right now, this first job that you get out of school, it's not your last. And if it turns out you don't like it, there's plenty of time to change it. But you need to recognize that that first job that you have is going to impact, it's going to have influence on the second job that you have and the third job. And so you need to start having that more infinite goal in mind, that infinite game of where it is that you want to go in the future. And so that's where you need to start thinking about what it is that you want to be doing. So if we could ask that person and ask, what do you want to be doing? It's then a matter of lining up what it is you want to be doing in the future with the certification that's going to help you get there. So this may be what it is that you tuned in for tonight, but I want to talk about some of these certifications that are available to you. We know CPA, But there's also CIA, CMA, I've mentioned those. There's CFE, Certified Fraud Examiner. There's CFA, Chartered Financial Analyst. And there are very specific bank-related, industry-related certifications. There's Enrolled Agent for tax professionals. And so what you need to be doing is thinking which of these certifications is going to provide the benefit that I need going forward. So for example, if you know, just in the heart of, deep in your heart, you know your calling in life is to be an internal auditor. Well, you need to pass the certified internal auditor exams. If your goal is investment banking, well then CFA is what it is that you should be looking towards. If you've had experience and you love the idea of forensic auditing, forensic accounting, and that fraud investigation, then CFE may be what it is that you're looking for. If you know that you want to be an auditor, you know that you want to be a tax professional, then CPA is probably what it is that you want to do. But we also need to keep in mind that there's a lot of jobs out there that may not line up so nice and neatly as internal audit or investment banking. And this is where also when you're interviewing for jobs and looking at jobs, having that larger perspective than just, I'm going to be an auditor, I'm going to be a tax, I want to go work for the Big Four. Whichever Big Four offers me the most money in the city I want to work in, that's where I'm going to work. Well, you're kind of missing a lot that's out there. Some other accounting jobs or related jobs that you can go to after school. Internal audit. Wonderful career. Great opportunities, large company, lots of travel, international travel if you get in with the right company. Government accounting. Okay, there's all kinds of government organizations that have accounting. Government auditing. Not-for-profits have accountants. Need accountants. Need those management decision-making support. And one that too often I think people overlook, go into the life of academia, become a professor. I grew up, my father was a professor. It's a good lifestyle. Summers, spring break usually, Christmas vacation, winter break usually. Not a huge teaching load. So if you like accounting, you like finance, you like economics, you like whatever it is, maybe the certification that you need is a PhD so that you can go in and become a professor and teach and grow and learn and build that next generation behind you of people that are going to go through and go into the profession. So what you need to do is look at these future jobs. See what it is that you think excites you. And the way you do this right now in college, or you're still in school, talk to people. Talk to people that come to these events. Talk to the recruiters from the different companies. Don't just go to the Big Four, go to everybody. Talk to friends that you have, your parents' friends, your friends' parents. And talk to people about what their job is. People love to talk about what their job is. Say, hey, can I go to lunch with you and just talk about what your job entails? You know, maybe you know somebody who works in the accounting or finance department at a hospital. Spend 30 minutes talking to them about what it is that they do, what they like, what they don't like, what's exciting and challenging for them about their job. Talk to your professors. They know people. They can put you in contact with people. Okay, but ask those questions. Have that inquisitive mind about what are the opportunities out there. What is it that seems, hey, that sounds great. I want to do that. Never thought of that before. Academia. Okay, I've always kind of tongue-in-cheek said that at some point I'm going to retire to the life of academia. I have to get a PhD, but I love teaching. And so going into a university environment and teaching accounting sounds wonderful. Sounds like, they pay me to do that. So find what it is that's passionate, that has that passion for you. And again, I'm not saying you love debits and credits. It's you love the environment, you love energy, you love conservation, you love historical artifacts, you love literature, you love art. Whatever it is that you love, that you're passionate about, Try to find a job that's connected to that, or a job that's going to be leading to being able to be connected to that. Okay, you love art. Go work at an art museum. You love music, but you can't sing. Well, go work as an accountant in the music industry. You love sports, but you're not very good at them. Go work for a sports team. They have accountants. They have people making these decisions. They have all that's in a company exists in a sports team as well. So try to find out, identify what it is that you're passionate about, and start planning how it is that this job may not be the one you want for the rest of your life, but how it's going to lead to the next job, and you've got that larger perspective in mind that you're working towards. So, getting close to the time here, and I'll give you a last piece of advice about taking your exam. Once you've decided what professional certification exam you want to take, you need to pass it, and you need to study for it. And the best time for you to study for a professional exam is while you're still in school, because the classes you're taking are what's tested on these professional exams. Some of your classes may be specifically geared towards the CPA exam. So if the classes you're taking are preparing you for what's on these certification exams, now is the time to take them. Don't wait 3 years and have to go back and restudy these things. Take them now, while you're studying them, while it's fresh. Because if you've taken an exam and you've passed an exam, you're going to get the job. You're going to have the choice of the jobs you want. Because if you go into an interview and you say, I've passed both parts of the CMA exam, CMA is only 2 exams. I've passed both parts of the CMA exam. Every company you interview with is going to give you a job offer. So you're going to be able to take all the jobs you interviewed for and choose the one that you want the most. That's the job you're going to be able to get. And if you go into that job having passed your 2 CMA exams, even though you're not certified yet, you need to have 2 years of experience. If you've passed those exams when you go to work, you're going to get the most challenging assignments. You're going to have the most interest paid by top management in your career because, hey, this kid's a CMA already. You're going to have the best opportunity for promotion and advancement. You're going to have the best opportunity to build into that next stage that you want to in your career. You're going to have the best opportunity to get the next job that you need to achieve what it is that you want to achieve in the long run. So you get that certification now, you get the benefit from it for much longer. And so go ahead and start now thinking about where it is that you want to be, thinking about what it is that you want to do, and identifying what that certification is that's going to allow you, that's going to help you accomplish that. Now, I talked about CIA, CPA, CFE, CFA. The one I didn't mention specifically is Certified Management Accountant. If you don't know what you want to do in your career, I love accounting, I love finance, but I don't know. I don't know if I want to do internal audit. I don't know if I want to do tax. CMA is a spectacular certification for you. 2 exams. Most of the topics you study in school anyway. But it's going to help you with that industry job. It's going to help you in accounting. It's going to help you in finance. It's going to help you in a budgeting department. Any department that's connected to the way a business operates. CMA is going to be that foundation for you. And that's going to allow you to get that job without specializing and take a few years to see what you like. Take a few years to see which of those areas in a company are the ones that excite you. The areas that you're excited to go into work on. And then, hey, it's fraud. I'm going to become a CFE. Hey, it's internal audit. Well, I'm going to become a CIA in a few years. Okay, but it's a matter of identifying the certification that's going to help the you 10 years from now be where it is that you want to be 10 years from now. Now, I know you're in the job. A lot of you are in the jobs or you will be looking for jobs soon. I realize I'm not able to give you a job. I can't help you solve that problem by giving you a job. But I hope that after this, what I've shared with you, it's going to help you get a better job because you're going to be thinking down the line a little bit. And by getting that better first job, it's going to be the start of a better career because you're starting with the end in mind. You have more of a perspective instead of just one job, but you're looking to see how it builds into what it is that you want to do in the longer term. And then by having that better career being built from the very beginning, what's going to happen is 10 years from now, 15 years from now, you will find that you are in the room. You are in the room where the decisions that are important to you, those decisions that matter to you, are being made. And because you started early, because you focused on that professional certification early, you are going to be in that room and you are going to be the one making those decisions.